right. Hey everyone, I'm Sophie and I am from Australia. I'm the HR Business Associate down in Geelong and Lara, which is our proving ground. So I'll take you through high level kind of jobs at Ford and what Ford looks like. Here tonight, I have three of my awesome engineers who have all come from RMIT as well as me. So we're all alumni of the uni. And that is Thoraya, Irene, and Hycianth. Now they're going to go through a bit more bio of themselves later in the presentation, so we might leave that for then, if that's okay with you three, and we'll get started on Ford. If this wants to work. Cool. So who is Ford in 2020? So I'm not too sure how many of you know about Ford and what we do in Australia right now, but in terms of employment, we are still the largest automotive employer in Australia. We employ over 2,000 people in Victoria and interstate alone. So compared to Holden, who recently has left the market, we now kind of are the biggest automotive group around. We have a wide range of different groups. So that include the design studio based in Melbourne. Our head office there is based in Campbellfield. So it's like right up North Melbourne, if anyone is ever looking on Google Maps. We also have a massive engineering group. So with that, we pretty much design and engineer the whole life cycle of the Ranger platform, which also includes Everest and Raptor. So they're our main cars that we design and engineer in Australia. And then we also have our national sales company based in Richmond as well. And they sell vehicles and, do all the marketing stuff for Australia and New Zealand as well. So that's just a bit of a high level overview as to who we are right now. Safe to say we're still hanging around. Coronavirus hasn't, hit us hard yet. We're not going like what Holden did. So if any of you have any questions about that, you're more than welcome to ask us at the end. As mentioned before, in Australia, we practically do the whole life cycle of the vehicle here, with the exception, of course, of launch and production, seeing that we ceased manufacturing in 2016. So a lot of our engineers, for example, the three of my gang on tonight, we'll do a lot of the different types of engineering that are on the screen here. So you can see we start off with the content definition and development. That's really understanding future cars and what people want. So kind of like your UX type work. We then go into the design and styling. So as mentioned before, we have a massive design studio up in Campbellfield. It's recently been renovated and expanded because we have so much work going on in there. It's really cool, top secret stuff that goes on. So if you're ever lucky enough to get a tour, soak it all up, because it is probably one of our favorite places to be. Virtual engineering, so they work alongside with the design studio to make sure that, the stuff that they're actually working on in there makes sense. Then we go into our proto build. So in Australia, we actually do have a warehouse or a manufacturing facility where we do build prototypes. So in a sense, we are manufacturing just very low levels of prototype vehicles. From there, we go into our testing. So our testing facilities are out in Geelong and in Lara. So if you've ever been down that way, I'm sure when you're driving from Melbourne to Geelong, you'll see the massive Geelong sign. So Ford is still based there as well. We do a lot of testing, vehicle dynamics, lab testings and things like that to make sure that the vehicle, we can, break the vehicle before it actually goes on the road, to make sure that we're capturing all the problems before the customer does. And then we go into the launch and production, which mainly happen overseas in our other manufacturing places. But that's not to say that, all the other cool stuff that gets done takes up a lot of our time as well. So I will go through a little bit about the grad program. I ran graduate recruitment last year. So unfortunately this year it's on hold at the moment just because of the situation we're in right now. Everyone's working from home. We're trying to save money. So I'm sure keep an eye out on like LinkedIn and our website in a few months' time, hopefully it'll reopen for 2021 intake. Fingers crossed that it does. At this stage, I'm still not sure whether it will be going ahead or not. But as I said, just keep your eye on our like social media platforms and our website as well. Just a bit of a high-level overview as to what like the grad program does. So you'll kind of start off with a group of 20 other graduates, a mix of, you know, engineers, marketers, finance people, HR people, all coming together. And every month you get a really cool development day. So you'll do different things such as learning about the company, you'll get training days, you'll get time to run leadership events and do volunteering and lots of other cool stuff. So that's what really makes our program different to other programs, like your bigger programs like Deloitte and you know, ones that will take in over 100 grads won't have this type of really detailed development program. They're more just about getting you guys into the company and then get you into work, whereas we're actually focused on your development as a future either technical expert or leader of the company. Now I will let Hycianth have a chat about the immersion experiences. I think it was Hycianth. No, it was Irene. Sorry, Hycianth. Is Irene online? Is that that's the question? Did she?
Yes, I'm here. Can anyone hear?
I think you were doing immersion experience. I'm just going to take a wild guess.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Yeah. So every year Ford. Oh no, I'm gone.
I can still hear you.
Okay,
can hear
cool.
you.
My screen changed and I panicked for a second. Okay, we're here. So every year Ford runs an immersion experience for all the grads that they take on for the following year. It's been run in August, I think, or July-ish, August, in the 2 years that I've been on Immersion. So yeah, lucky enough for me, I've been on 2 immersion experiences, my own grad years, and then I got to help run the immersion experience that was run for the grads that started this year. So it's just like a really fun time. We got to drive or ride in a lot of cool Ford vehicles. If you can see in the top right corner, for my year's immersion experience, we had an F-150, which is pretty cool. It was a left-hand drive vehicle, pretty much something that you'd see in America, big bad truck. So we got to have a bit of fun with that. But it was just a great, you know, bonding experience. You got to meet all the new grads and some older grads as well, try and get a bit of an insight, I guess, from them on what the grad program's about and what to expect. But yeah, it was just a great bonding experience, got to meet everyone, had a few fun activities. In the bottom left-hand corner, we had I think that was from the trivia night, and those were the winners of the trivia night. Like, people get medals and there's trophies and stuff. It's a lot of different fun stuff just to get to know people and kind of just relax into the Ford environment without, you know, being thrown in the deep end the first time you meet everyone. So yeah, really great time, lots of driving. Yeah, and we all got squad jackets, so that's always fun. Yeah.
Now it's Hycianth.
Yes.
So the cool thing with Ford is that just because you're a grad doesn't mean that you won't have the opportunity to go on travel. I'm not saying that every grad will go, and there are some people who might be years or might never go and travel, but depending on the role, you have opportunity to travel for your role, which I did last year. I got to go to India in Sinan, where I went to the engine plant and vehicle assembly. I also got to visit both of our Thai plants in Thailand, obviously. And I went to Thailand about 5 times last year because of my role. A lot of the supervisors are very, very supportive about sending grads to travel, because we no longer have the plant facility in Melbourne. So being able to see that is such an incredible and useful thing to see, and seeing the product that you designed pretty much be made in front of you. We also have the opportunity to travel interstate, where we do all the grad recruitment, and they do get grads onto that. So you can apply for that and then go somewhere. So last year I went to Newcastle, which was new because we hadn't gone to Newcastle before, I think. And we went and people were like, I thought Ford closed down. And we're like, no, we're still here. So that was pretty cool. This year I was supposed to go to Perth, but all our travel got cancelled for obvious reasons. But that would have been really cool. So I'm not saying it's like a definite must, a definite possibility, but it is possible as a grad. Like, you don't need to have worked for the company for like 10 years before you get sent somewhere. So that's pretty cool.
Awesome. Now let me get the next slide up. And Thoraya.
All right. Obviously, grads at Ford, you probably expect that you're going to at least drive a Ford. So you'll definitely get to do that. And like Irene mentioned, on the immersion experiences, on the development days where we go visit different sites across Melbourne, we definitely get into the cars. You can see the Mustangs, got the F-150, got the Raptor. So you'll definitely get a chance to at least drive Ford products. In my role last year, I was part of the vehicle integration team, and we owned a fleet of Rangers, Everests, and Raptors that you see on the street. So we used those for like attribute and performance testing. So I got heaps of time to spend inside the product, and I got to learn so much about Ford cars. So that was really good. Yeah. I guess that's it. If you're a car head and you're keen on driving Fords, then yes, you will get a chance to do that.
And even if you don't like cars, you'll still be put in them.
Yes, and you will have fun.
Exactly. You do have fun. All right. Hycianth.
So we're lucky as grads that we get organised days where we get experience at all the sites, regardless of our business function. So us engineers, we got to go to Richmond and visit Richmond and see what they do. And then the marketers and the finance people get to go to our facilities in Geelong, the Research Development Centre, and in Lara, the Hycianth Proving Ground, to see what engineering does. And I'm working in the Proving Ground this year. I'm part of the vehicle vehicle evaluation and verification team, VEV, as I know it. I'm actually in charge of all the facilities that have a dyno. So wind tunnels, NVH, chamber, and emissions. I help set up like things like making sure the engineers are scheduled, their vehicles are there. I am currently in the middle of writing or setting up a new test procedure. So we were finding some of our vehicles in North America were having issues with rain, and then in winter the rain would turn into basically ice, and then the doors were having an issue. So I'm writing that test procedure. And I also help with the maintenance of the facilities, which is kind of cool as well. The Proving Ground is a massive, like, don't ask me how big it is, but massive, massive, massive grounds in the middle of nowhere, basically. We have a constant speed track, so it's basically just a speedway. We have different durability tracks. We have the wet track, I don't know what it's called, for brakes. Obviously we have all the wind tunnels and stuff, and then we also have our vehicle dynamics testing tracks as well, which is kind of cool. during our day at the proving ground, we get put into cars and they take us along these tracks. So we get to feel the different roads that we have for testing. So we'll have roads that mimic roads around the world. So we'll have cobblestones for Europe. We have this special road there's only one road in America, but for some reason it's an engineering requirement. So there's that too. And then there's this other road that if you go out and get your proving ground license, you have to get tested on the roads. And there's this bump road where it is literally impossible to keep your foot on the accelerator because you're bumping up and down so much that it's so hard to even hold 30k an hour. So that's pretty fun. So if you can, and if you get into our program, or even if we have an open day, sometimes we do have drive days open to the public. If you can get to the proving ground, it's amazing. It's so cool.
Yes, and we do have our crash facility at the proving ground as well.
Yes,
us grads have been, us grads have been lucky enough to see a few crashes, and it is, I think, a very sobering reminder for all of us when we watch it happen about, driving appropriately on the roads. So. And I believe it was Soraya was doing this slide.
Yep. So Sophie already mentioned a little bit about our development days. So we'll have like a day a month, or like a day every 2 months where we have training from a third party. And that's usually on like leadership topics like communication, networking. And then we sort of try to incorporate that when we organize our leadership events or go out to universities and, look for the next grads. We also do the days where we visit the offices. That's already been mentioned, so I won't speak too much about that. But we also do things like go visit dealerships. We go visit the plant in Melbourne where we run the prototype builds. So just really, I think they just give the grads a good opportunity to learn about all sides of the business. So that's really good. In terms of like charity and volunteering, Irene, Sophie, and myself, we were part of the graduate charity committee last year, and we were supporting autism. So we raised about $5,000 for them last year. We did fun initiatives like LinkedIn headshots, we did bake sales, we did like a charity night. So that was all fun. And then we also get 2 days a year where we volunteer. So you do like a day with your department or your team, and then you do a day with the grads. So I think what we did was we planted trees and built some fences for an aged care residence home. That was really fun and really rewarding. And then Ford does heaps of other initiatives, like we supported the bushfires, we did Are You OK Day, did stuff for diabetes, Movember, so just heaps of stuff. So plenty of opportunity to do volunteer work. I think that's it. Really fun. You get to do a lot of extracurricular stuff being part of the graduate program and just even being part of Ford.
On to you, Irene.
Okay. So apart from your normal day-to-day work, Ford has several employee resource groups. So a few of them are popped up on the screen. We've got Globe, PWN, and NextGen. So PWN stands for Professional Women's Network Australia. There's not just one in Ford Australia, but there's branches in America, in China, but the one here in Australia aims to promote, I guess, like equality and growth, supporting women in the workplace. So it's not just for women, men and women are invited to participate in PWN activities, but they just try to promote their goals of growth, culture, and appeal to make sure everyone's represented at Ford Australia and everyone's supported in their jobs. So PWN runs events throughout the year. So they get guest speakers in to talk to us about different topics. They also run mentoring circles where people can join and meet up with different people from the business, whether it's like more senior leaders or people just starting out, to just, you know, discuss different topics, stuff that's going on within the business, or it could be professional development and networking stuff as well. We've also got Globe, which is Ford's LGBTQI resource group. So Ford Globe aims to represent Ford team members who are gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgendered, or fall anywhere on the spectrum. The mission is to foster an inclusive and supportive atmosphere. So anyone can join, anyone can be a representative, as long as they support the LGBT community. And we've also got Next Gen. So Next Gen's a little bit different, where it's aimed as a group to help connect new, current, and future employees at Ford. So Next Gen kind of functions the same way like grad development days would. It just supports newer employees in developing their career. It could be with network expansion, career development, different kinds of training that, you know, new employees would be able to do to try and progress their career, even if they weren't, you know, in the grad program, and have specific training days set aside. Yeah, they also promote like community engagement as well as personal development. So lots of networking and just putting yourself out there, because you might be a new person at Ford. Next Gen is a great place to start, both to just meet new people, but also, you know, develop yourself personally and professionally.
Okay, so I've saved the funnest slide for me. So at Ford, we do so much fun stuff, which includes bringing dogs to work. So before us working at home every day, we tried to do like 4 days out of the year where we would invite employees to bring their dogs to work for a day, and to just get their dogs to interact with their teams and, you know, come into meetings and let people socialize with their pets. So that was an awesome initiative that myself and a few of the grads and even just other employees who are passionate about animals have been involved with. As mentioned before, we're really big on mental health and well-being at Ford. So we do a lot of work on Are You OK? As the gang mentioned before, like Movember and all of those different types of mental health initiatives, we try to promote as much as possible at Ford. On the top right there, that is our training centre. So I wish it would usually look like that, but it doesn't. That is for our kids co. So for employees who have parents, back when we were working in the office, every school holidays, we would run holiday programs for their kids to actually come on site and to be essentially day cared at work while employees were, you know, across the pathway in the office working. So it's another awesome initiative that Ford has been trying to achieve the past year. And also, as mentioned before, we love coming out to universities and doing fun stuff with students. So the photo in the middle there with me and Hycianth and a couple of our other friends at RMIT, and that was for Pride Week. We were on the Globe panel where we, you know, got to talk about Globe, as Irene mentioned before. So that was awesome. And, you know, we always try to do stuff, in particular with RMIT, no bias, I'm sure. But yeah, we absolutely love doing all that type of stuff and promoting Ford because we are still in Australia and we will continue to still be in Australia as well. All right. Now we'll go into a little bit of detail of the engineers I've invited. So Irene, take it away.
Yes, hello. I'm Irene and I graduated from RMIT 2 years ago in 2018. So I'm a little bit different because I studied food tech and chemical engineering. So I guess moving into the automotive industry wasn't quite the most direct path for me after university, but here we are. So I currently work in the body exterior bumpers and trim team, where I'm a design and release engineer working on wheel arch liners and mud flaps for the new Ranger, Everest and Raptor that's going to be coming out in 2020, 2021. So I look after, what is it? I don't know. I want to say about 12 to 15 different parts. So very exciting stuff. Parts that probably no one really looks at, but that's okay. And I pretty much work through all the engineering issues, all of the design issues to try and get the best design or the most robust design for my parts that are going to support prototype build vehicles that will happen in Australia, as well as hopefully end up on cars that we're going to see on the road. My job is quite multifaceted as I have to talk to a lot of different people a lot of the time. So that includes suppliers, finance, purchasing, other engineers, and I've just got to try and come up with the most cost-effective and feasible design for my mud flaps and wheel arch liners. CAD is also a really big part of my job. So everything we look at, we pretty much use CAD to visualize the parts, both on their own and how they interact with the surrounding parts as well. And some notable experiences so far for me. Last year I worked in the design studio as a design engineer, which is really exciting because I got to gain a bit more of an insight on how the design process works, as well as how designers kind of think, which is very different to the way engineers think. But I got to see stuff go from a sketch that a designer's made all the way up to a clay model that's pretty much the life-size version of a car. Like I mentioned earlier, I went on the grad program Immersion 2 years in a row, which was really fun, and I got to know, you know, all the other young people and all the grads starting out at Ford just like me. And another great experience I've had on the grad program is being able to meet senior leaders. So one of our grad groups, I guess, organises like morning teas and chats with senior leaders, which is a great way to gain insight of the company, different people's career progression, and how you can make a really great career at Ford. So, yeah.
Okay, Hycianth, your turn.
Yes, I'm Hycianth. I also graduated from RMIT 2 years ago in 2018. I also wasn't a direct pathway as well. I did aerospace engineering and business management. I already was working at Ford while at uni through a contracting gig, basically. So when I first started at Ford in 2016, I was on the thermal and aerodynamic systems engineering team. So basically I looked at making sure the vehicle wouldn't catch on fire. That was really cool because that team was very highly technical. It taught me a lot about cars because I knew nothing about cars, because wings had been my life for the past 3 years prior to that. And that included not just physical testing, but I also got to understand all the virtual testing. So I do all the virtual modeling for the team and looked at heat management and cooling. So the cooling system and the exhaust, basically. When I got into the grad program, I then started on material cost. Material costs is a team who are concerned, or our main goal is to optimize the design of the vehicle as much as possible. And that may mean either getting rid of parts or changing the materials that the parts are made of, changing who our supplier is, changing the design, simplifying design, and most of that is based off collaborating with different people within the company. So our purchasing team, so the people who purchase all the things for us, our cost estimating team, and our finance team. We also collaborated with people from our region, so Asia Pacific, so people in Thailand, China, and India mostly. We also did a lot of benchmarking, so we would tear apart vehicles, look at every single part, like I'm talking to the detail. We would even look at bolts to see if we could save money on bolts. And we would do that here in Lara. We tear down some vehicles, but we also tear down a lot of our vehicles in Thailand. We also would do, we would call them marketing reviews. So that's when we would look at our vehicles and competitive vehicles and compare the features, and we decide whether or not we should have a feature based on whether we think it's useful and what the competition are doing. This year, as I said before, I'm part of VEV, and I'm an emissions, environmental and VSAC test engineer. Basically, I help run all the facilities that where we test our emissions, our aerodynamics, our thermal, our NVH, noise, vibration, and harshness, for those who don't know, at the Yuyang's Proving Ground. And I work with engineering teams to coordinate the quality and establish any test procedures. So if there's any tests that the engineering teams come to us and say, we need this test done, help us create it, we do that for them. I also have worked with a lot of the technicians, so a lot of the mechanics and operators as well, which is a very different environment to where I was working in Melbourne in the office, which is kind of good to see the difference. And my experiences so far, visiting assembly plants in Thailand as well as in India was pretty amazing. I was very lucky in material costs to travel so much. Everyone would joke that I was probably out of Australia more than me actually being in Australia, which I think was kind of right. So that was a very, very good experience, and I was very lucky to have it. Also, being able to experience the different types of engineering roles that contribute to creating the Ranger, and at different points of our timeline. So I've dealt with the start virtual engineering phase, I've dealt with the testing, and I've also dealt with near the end as well. So yeah.
Cool, thanks. And last but not least, Soraya.
All right, I will try to keep mine short so that we have more time for Q&A. Okay, so yep, like Irene, Hycianth, and Sophie, graduated from RMIT 2 years ago. Also did chemical engineering, and I did business management. I started off at Ford in the vehicle integration team, so that's part of vehicle engineering. So my role was to work on the current Ranger and Everest and Raptors that you see out on the road. So any quality issues that would come straight to us. We worked with the performance attribute teams, so like the NVH, Dynamics, Squeak and Rattle, all those teams. And so I got to build a really good network. I got to learn how to evaluate cars subjectively from those measures. So we'd get into cars and start rating the noise, which is crazy to think about when I started, but pretty cool thing to do. Did some testing on alternators and like off-road mud conditions. So really, really cool experiences. Now I'm a design and release engineer. So I'm in the body interior department and instrument panel. And I work on finished panels. So like panels that basically the plastic parts that you see everywhere on the dashboard. So a few of those. Working with plastic is not as straightforward as it seems. It's not that easy to work with, but it's definitely been a more technical role, more program management. So like Irene, it's all about working with the designers, with the CAD, all the engineering feasibility and the costing. So it's a very different role, but I'm enjoying it. Highlights and experiences so far. I got to go to the Simpson Desert last year for 2 weeks as part of like a off-road capability sign-off trip. So I got to learn how to drive on gravel, on sand, basically really rough terrain conditions, and that was really cool. And yeah, just being able to drive in the cars and have sort of different perspectives. So from going from like a more coordinating sort of networking role to a really technical role. So yeah, that's me.
Awesome, thank you all. Now, I'll just do a bit of high level, our thoughts about Ford so far. So as we've all gone through this evening, we're very much into the professional development opportunities. In engineering, there are so many opportunities for you to shape your future, so many different areas that you can learn and develop your skills. You get exposure to every side of the business. As mentioned before, volunteering, opportunities to travel and do different things, and also the work culture. We call ourselves the Ford family, and I think it's pretty evident that we are a family. We all get along so well, and that's our grad cohort there. So our 2019 group, we all, I think we're all best friends, although they might all secretly hate me, don't know. But we all have a good time. Depending on what site you're on, we'll have lunches together and catch up with coffees. So it's just a really cool environment to work in for your first career once you finish uni. And then just to finish off, we wanted to just talk about what Ford's actually doing in the environment we're in right now with the coronavirus. So if you follow us on LinkedIn and or other social media platforms, hopefully you've seen some posts about Ford Australia creating face masks. So it's like this little picture on the bottom left here. So far they've made 6,500, and that was, I believe, like late last week. And I know they've made a lot more than that. So they've all been distributed around Australia to businesses that need them. I know a lot of smaller medical centres in Geelong that can't access this type of equipment is now getting access to it for free. So Ford is actually donating all of this, all of these face masks and everything that they're making in order to help businesses and services that need them. We also have a Ford Second Car program for those who are frontline healthcare workers. They have an opportunity to go to a dealer and get a loan vehicle for a period of time. We've also successfully transitioned the majority of our workforce from home. Of course, there are some people that have to be on site. For example, the people that are actually doing tests in our Geelong offices. There are just some jobs that can't be done at home, but the majority of people are at home, staying safe and staying at home away from, being out in the public and potentially getting sick. We're also continuing our charity work as well. So we're still donating to Give Where You Live, which is a charity based in Geelong, and the Salvation Army as well. So even though Ford, we're, of course, like most other companies, we're not doing very well in this environment, we're still trying to give back to the community because it's still incredibly important in this time for all of us to come together as a community and get through this difficult time. And that is it. So I know we have probably talked everyone's ears off, but thank you all so much for listening. Now let's jump into Q&A, shall we?
Just before anyone starts asking questions, can we please post any questions in the chat rather than turning on your microphone? That way then we'll hopefully stop some pain in our ears. So just write your questions in the chat. Hopefully our 4 Ford representatives can see the chat, and yeah, just shoot away, answer the questions that you want, and yeah, good luck.
All right.
All right, I just had to remove my screen so I could actually read the chat. I'm illiterate in Zoom. Yeah. Okay, first up, is there an internship program? So we are currently doing some pilots with internships at the moment. However, it is with Deakin, not with RMIT. So once we get a better picture of how it works with Deakin, we want to obviously expand it. And my next university I will be putting forward is obviously RMIT. No bias, but so hopefully once we're all back at work and things return to normal, next year I really hope some form of internship program is up and running. But again, don't hold your breath on that one, just because Ford we're very erratic right now with a lot of these types of extracurricular stuff. So hold out, I would say, till towards the end of the year. Keep an eye on our website, because that's where it's going to be promoted if we do open up to other universities. And internship program, we would accept international students, but we wouldn't be able to provide any monetary support. It would really be up to the international students to be able to do the internship with Ford unpaid, because that's the route we would be opting for, the kind of like the unpaid 3-month, 2-day a week type internships, which I'm sure your university runs. So I hope that answers that question. As I say, keep an eye out on our social media pages. What traits, characteristics, skills are highly desired by Ford when hiring graduates? I'm going to handle this one.
I'll take it.
Cool. Okay, Soraya, you're going to take it.
All right, and you guys can jump in. I think just openness to learn, basically really being a team player and sort of working with others is really important when it comes to the graduate program. And I just think in general working at Ford, because you will have to work with so many teams globally and at the Ford Australia site. You don't necessarily have to be a people person, but we're very, very social at Ford. You probably see from all the events and stuff that we run, people are often always catching up for coffees, or almost everyone has a mentor that they speak to. So if you're into that, then I think there's a place for everyone at Ford, but yeah, specifically that. Anyone else add anything or want to add anything?
Yes. I will say that they won't necessarily base your entire application on your grades. They do look at you as a person and your potential when hiring. That being said, there's a common factor between, at least with our year, who have been hired, and they're usually the students who are doing other things rather than just doing university. People were either part of clubs or academic clubs. People were tinkering at home. They had hobbies at home, or they were doing other extracurricular things to show their passion for what they do and the skills and the knowledge that they want to learn and develop continuously. So that's also something to think about as well.
Cool. I think that covers everything I would say. Got you guys trained well. Next question. Can recent PhD graduates and manufacturing apply for full graduate program? Yes, you can. There is a time limit though on when you can apply. This is all on the website as well. So after this, guys, feel free to just jump on, type in Google Ford Australia graduate program, and it will be the first link up there. You've got to apply within 2 years of completing your studies. So for this year, it would be 2019, I think, or 2018, one or the other. I think it's 2019. Yeah, because you'd start in 2021, so you have to finish before 2019, if my maths is correct. That makes sense. It's all written there on the website. And yes, we'd welcome people with PhDs, any after, bachelor's, master's, anything, please apply. You don't even have to necessarily be a major in automotive or strictly mechanical. We look for all different types of engineers, like the gang here, are all chemical and aero and, food science. So we look for a wide range of different types of engineers. Plus, even if the grad program doesn't work out this year, we still hire through our agencies as well. So when we will recruit in the future, keep an eye out on, you know, Seek and LinkedIn, because we will post jobs up there as well, which you can still apply for through like entry-level roles as well, and then apply through the grad program at a later date. Next question, since GM is a US company, does that mean you use non-metric units? What is it like using such a retro measurement system? Do you ever run into problems? I'm in HR, so I don't use metric units. So engineers, take away.
I don't know about everyone else, but in my old role in thermal, I'm pretty sure we only use metric. So I haven't had an issue, is all I'm going to say. I don't know about everyone else.
Yeah, pretty much everything is millimeters, so yeah, pretty standard. I'm not gonna, you know, measure pipes in feet or anything, so.
All
right. Good answer, guys. Next question. Does Ford offer any work travel to Germany? Is there an exchange program? No, there isn't.
No, you go, Sophie.
I was just going to say, no, there isn't. You want to add?
I was just going to say, it depends. I mean, I know a few like engineers that were in Geelong last year that got to go to Germany, and I think it just depends on your role. So sometimes they might do like customer clinics there. You might have some suppliers that are based there that you'll need to visit. So it's not a big travel destination that most Ford employees will go to, but you might just have that role where you'll have to go.
Yeah, I think it's more, you wouldn't do like an assignment over there. You wouldn't be over there for like 6 months. It would be kind of like Hycianth's role last year. You might go over there for 2 weeks, meet suppliers if you've got any over there, do a bit of work, and then come back. I've had a colleague, he went to Germany to do training. So he was there for 2 weeks and he was working on some stuff over there for Port of Europe. So it really just depends on the role, where the cycle of the vehicle is at, and the opportunities that will come your way. Okay. Yep, got that. Okay. Cool. Then how does a student with a mechatronics degree being able to apply these skills in automotive industry and other manufacturing? So I'll start this one and then you guys can add to it. With Ford, we don't expect you to, when you come onto the grad program or through an entry-level role, we don't expect you to know everything technically from an engineering perspective. You'll be trained to learn, your role, what it takes to complete certain things. So a lot of the times when new people start, supervisors and your team will understand that you're going to come in and possibly know nothing, and you have then the opportunity to grow and develop your skills through those means of whether it's, formal training, having a mentor, having your supervisor buddy you up with someone in your team, and to learn. We love mechatronic people, so the more of you that can apply, the better. You're in short supply for some reason, or you just don't like Ford. I don't know what it is, but there's a lot of cool opportunities for people who do mechatronics and those types of like electrical fields, because our cars, as far as I'm aware, like I'm not an engineer, but they do have electrics in them. So we need electronic people. If anyone else wants to add to that, you can.
I also just wanted to do a general statement that engineering, we solve problems. So you're given a problem and from your degree, you've learnt the skills to solve that problem. And I've found that I've had lots of tasks where I had no idea what I was doing, but because of I guess the way we think, I was able to solve those problems. So I wouldn't have any issue at all. Like, you don't need to worry about your degree affecting your ability to work in the automotive industry.
Good point. Yes. Can you restart Falcon production? Falcon. Look, we all Falcon.
Oh my God.
At work, we have a saying, don't care, bring back Falcon. Look, it's probably never going to happen, but we can. If we get enough people who love Falcon to get on the grad program and become future leaders of the company, then maybe we could like make it somewhat feasible to bring back the Falcon. But at this stage, I don't think there's any plan to bring it back, unless you guys know of anything. I don't think so. No, we're all shaking our heads. No. I have skills in both design and engineering. What does Ford look like for design engineering roles? Irene, you can take this.
Yep. So we actually have a grad this year. She did product design at Swinburne. And from what I understand of her career path, like she's currently working in the design studio as a design engineer. But you could tailor, I guess, either the grad program or your own career path to work in both, engineering roles and design roles. So there is a potential to have that crossover. Like, traditionally, I guess like an engineer from like my background wouldn't jump into a design role, but if you do have that experience and you do have that background, there's nothing really stopping you from either having those grad rotations or applying for both roles. There could be something where like a new role is kind of thought of, like there's always kinds of innovative roles being thought of in Ford. So it could be like a crossover role that's like half engineering, half design. There's all that kind of innovative stuff. So, kind of follow your own path and stick to what you like doing, and Ford will kind of fit you in where you want to be. So definitely potential.
Yes, no, very good points. Is there a specific time in the year that you offer internships and our grad program? So our grad program usually opens in like April every year, or like March, April. You apply and the whole process is completed usually by June. This year it might look a little bit different. The recruitment will probably run later in the year, I expect, with the expectation that you would start at the end of January 2021. So every year you'll commence at the end of January. Internships, we'll see what that looks like. My idea of the internship program, it would run off your university timetable. So I think RMIT, I assume you do semesters or trimesters, so it would work with when your semester or trimester starts and when it ends. So they're my grand plans that are in the works right now. Other than graduate engineering, what business management graduate paths are offered at Ford? So we have heaps of different pathways as well. So if you've done a double degree of engineering and business, you can apply for the business related roles, and I would recommend that you do because you've got more opportunity to get a role. So usually we'll have marketing, sales and service. So that's technically one role itself in those three areas. So it is pretty much self-explanatory. The marketing side of Ford Australia, marketing the cars to customers, sales, so your aftermarket parts and things like that. And then service, so again, the service of vehicles and how it's promoted and branded to the dealerships. So that's one area that we have grads in, and also finance as well is a pretty common one that we get to. Depending on the years as well, we might have some other groups come in. So as I mentioned before, you had HR a few years that have run the grad program as well. We've also had purchasing and different other groups, IT as well as an example. So it just depends on the year and who is looking for grads. So every time when grad recruitment comes up early in the year, have a look at the website and see what's on offer and apply depending on your background. Can non-Australian PR citizens apply for the grad program? So only Australian citizens, New Zealand citizens, PR for Australia or New Zealand can apply at this stage. It's still no international students, like most other grad programs as well. Oh, for Hycianth, we have a question for you. Oh. Out of curiosity, do Ford conduct the R51.03 noise emission test at your facility?
I'm going to be very honest and say I have no idea what that is. I haven't done a detailed rotation in the emissions facility yet. That was to come later, but it might not actually happen, but we'll see. If it is a standard that is legally required in either Australia or vehicles, actually, if it is a legal requirement somewhere in the world for a Raptor, then yes, we do. That's all I know. Sorry, I can't be more detailed. I did do a day at the emissions lab just to see what they do and see how they run their quality, and it's like a lot. It's a lot of stuff. I know that they look at the quality of the air and the particles that come out of the vehicle. They do a lot of the particle mass tests and stuff. I've only just started learning about it. It's still kind of gibberish to me. But yeah, pretty exciting stuff if you're into that.
All right. Next question, I'm gonna handball probably to Soraya. How long is a normal day for you guys? Do you have lots to do, and do you get lots of overtime?
It really depends. So last year I was working on ongoing product development, so products that have already been through the cycle. So I didn't have to do much overtime at all. When we did go, for example, on the trip to the Simpson Desert, that wasn't the case. So we did a bit of overtime because we were driving long days. In my current role, and Irene will say the same, we're both in the design and release roles, and we're at a point in the program where it's very, very busy, and we're finalizing design and releasing parts and working with suppliers. So we do, or we have been working overtime for the past couple of months or so, obviously on and off, but yeah, we do. It depends on what time in the program it is. So yeah, I think there's a good balance between not always working overtime and doing it when we need to.
All right. How flexible are your years of experience requirements for contract roles? So it depends on the role on offer. Usually our contractor roles, particularly the departments that I partner with, we don't particularly care about experience per se. It's more about whether you're the right fit for the role. So, for example, last year our test engineering department hired 3 new people. They are most likely going to hire again this year. And the interviews that took place, there were really no technical questions asked at all. It was more about who you are as a person and what you can bring to Ford as a worker there. So hopefully that answers that question. But if there is technical requirements or years of experience, it'll be listed in the job ad. Where's the best place to apply for Ford? Is there a Ford website? Yeah, what I can do after this, I can share with Harrison the email, the website link, and you can send it out to all of you to have a look at. As I mentioned, the grad program's on hold right now, so if you click to apply, it might just come up with an error or something. So don't be too alarmed if that happens. If we have contractor roles, your best bet is LinkedIn right now. So please add the Ford Australia page, because that's where a lot of the contracting roles will come up on, and also Seek as well. They're kind of the 2 main areas that we will put jobs that aren't necessarily the grad program up. What teams work at Geelong during role rotations? Do you work at different offices? Who wants to take this one? Okay,
All right.
Thoraya.
So at Geelong, we've got most of the chassis team. So the, I don't know what you call them, the underbody team. We also have part of the VEV team. So they're the vehicle engineering verification team. The thermal team, I think, is split. So half of it's still in Geelong. Vehicle integration, so my team was there. Homologation are based there, and test engineering are there. And a few of the electrical audio teams, I think, are also there. So there's quite a bit of work in Geelong. And yes, during role rotations, we do work at different offices. So I was in Geelong last year. I'm in Campbellfield this year. Hycianth and Irene were both in Campbellfield last year, and Hycianth is in Lara this year, I think. And yeah, even Sophie's been rotating. So we all get to work between Lara, Geelong, and Campbellfield during our rotations.
Yeah. Oh, it's so much fun driving. We love it. How can an international student get into Ford? So I got asked this question a lot last year. My advice to international students is, if you're struggling to get a PR and it's just not working out for you, if your home country, so let's say India, has a base of Ford, so our India, I think our market is in Chennai, I think.
So yep.
Chennai? Cool, got it right. So if you have, citizenship in India, my recommendation to you would be to try and get a job at Ford of India first. So to actually try your best at integrating into Ford into your home country as a way in, and then to continue on trying your best to come into Ford Australia, whether it's through, we can do transfers or other assignments to come to Australia. A lot of students that last year that, were unable to get their PR did go that route as well. So my recommendation would be to try that out if you're really struggling in trying to get your PR. But other than that, for Ford Australia, you have to get it beyond the grad program. You have to have your PR. For contracting roles, you don't necessarily have to. If you have a working visa, then there probably is a better chance of getting a contractor role. So when those positions come out on LinkedIn or Seek, they will kind of list the visa requirements. So my recommendation is to just look at, when those jobs pop up, what they're looking for. If there's an opportunity, if you have an international visa or a different type of visa, to apply, because they will consider you if they are able to. All right. So we need to cover questions for now so we don't go too far over time. Is that correct, Harrison?
There's one last one there just after my last post.
Oh. In your roles, are there any opportunities to work overseas within Ford? So as mentioned, like Hycianth's role last year, you get heaps of opportunities to business travel if you're in the right role. However, in terms of like going, let's say, over to America for 3 years on a bigger assignment, that doesn't happen too often anymore, in saying that there are still opportunities for that to happen, but it's really, you just have to be at the right place at the right time, be the right person for that to happen. So if you do get a job at Ford, you've just got to work really hard to be like that awesome engineer and that awesome, future potential leader who can then go off and work at Dearborn, with the top dogs over there. So it's all dependent on situations, really.
Could you actually expand on that last part about management leading over to America, like potentially looking at maybe an MBA in the States?
So like going over to study?
Yeah, so looking at possibly going into a more commercial role, or not commercial, probably the right word, corporate role in the States.
Yeah, so if you climb the ladder up at Ford and, you get to that, executive level, then there'll be opportunities to go on different assignments. So for example, our chief engineer at the moment, Ron Collins, he is from America. So he, and I think before coming to Australia to run operations here, was based in Germany for 3 years. So he's been identified as someone who is going to, you know, lead the company and hopefully, you know, achieve great success in Australia and all the other areas that he's been to. And the grad program really helps with that as well. So not all of our senior leaders are grads, but I would say the majority of them actually did come through our grad program. For example, his name's Trevor Worthington. So he was actually a grad in Australia, and now he is one of the senior executives in Ford North America, working on, you know, top secret programs for all of Ford. So it really just depends on when you get into the grad program at Ford. You know, you take your career and you direct it to where you want to go. You make the most out of working for a multinational company. You take every opportunity you can get, but then also knowing where you might not want to take a certain opportunity if it pigeonholes you or if it's not an area you're particularly going to get value from. And then also it's very much about networking, you know, knowing when new positions are going to come up, where you need to be in terms of your skill set in order to be promoted to the next levels. And then speaking of education as well, so we do have like an MBA program that Ford pays for. And I know that some people who have done it have actually gone overseas for like 3 months to complete part of their education as well. So Ford will actually support people to do that too. So there's heaps of opportunities to develop in your career if you want to go that path, or if you want to go down like a more technical expert path as well. There's so many options at Ford. Hopefully that makes sense.
I will say that the MBA may be helpful, but it's interesting to note that I think a lot, well, not a lot, I don't actually know, but a few of the executives aren't necessarily MBA holders. It's just that they understand the company, the culture, the history and the way we work, and being able to adapt as well is really important forward. If you read any part of our history at all, you will understand what this company has been through in the last 100+ years. And just, yeah, I think having that that knowledge is also probably as important than having like a certain degree.
That's a good point. Yeah. Yep.
Cool. So that's all the questions. We'll stop that there because it is getting a bit late. I'm sure everyone wants to go have their dinner and other activities. Thanks a lot to Ford and our 4 representatives who have joined us this evening. As students, we really appreciate getting the opportunity to speak directly with industry. Some people never get this opportunity, so it's great that we're able to bring you guys, I would like to say face-to-face, but virtual face-to-face. Unfortunately, we couldn't hold, or we had to postpone the industry day we had organized where Ford would have been attending. That has been postponed till September the 16th, but obviously at this point in time, it's all dependent on how the current COVID situation unfolds. And another quick announcement as well in terms of MAEA. We are starting a Discord. Now, we did mention a couple times in this chat about mental health, and we think in this current time where everyone's stuck at home, there's hardly, or there shouldn't be any socializing, physical socializing. We're not getting that interaction. So we've set up this Discord channel, which I will post in the chat right now. What we've set that up for is for all the students to have a platform to chat. There's music lounges where music plays and you can change the track. It's quite cool. You can get help with current assignments, which I think will be quite helpful. So yeah, you can jump on that. It's completely anonymous as well. You can verify yourself. But yeah, anyway, once again, thank you, the 4 of you, for attending. Hopefully the Ford program or the Ford graduate program will run again at the end of the year. I was one of those people who went to click the button mysteriously disappeared. So fingers crossed for that. And yeah, we might see each other in the future.
Yes.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.